Hello and welcome to another Whiskey review. With me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me. It's review number 237. We are still down a path looking at 13, 12-year-old Scottish single malts. And this time we're back to Glenmorangie, but it's not the classic sort of 12-year-old Lasanta. This one is what they're calling the Barrel Select release. One of the Barrel Select releases. I think there might be another one. As a matter of fact, I'm almost sure there's another one, but it may be a distillery exclusive. And this one, the Glenmorangie 12-year-old Palo Cortado. So, if you will, pardon me, and if you've got the time, let's look at what Palo Cortado is, shall we? Palo Cortado is a sherry, right? But it's not just a normal sherry. Palo Cortado we're seeing popping up quite a bit more often nowadays. So let's just do it. I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible, but I just sort of want to explain what it is. So we're pretty much used to PX and Oloroso. Generally, there are 5 sherries produced from the Fino grape, okay? And 1 from PX, and that's the PX that we know. It's sweeter, almost dessert sherry. But there are 5 other sherries, as I say, created from this Fino grape. What is sherry for a start, just in case anybody's wondering? Well, sherry, Jerez, south of Spain, it's fortified wine. So it's, made from the grape, wine with alcohol added to it. So where your wines are generally sort of released around maybe 11 till about 13% ABV, sherry's still considered a fortified wine, slightly stronger. So, as I said, 5 sherries created from the Fino grape. Fino, Manzanilla, Amontillado, Palo Cortado, Oloroso. Fino, so here's where it starts to get a little complicated. Fino and Manzanilla do this thing in the cask where, as I said, there's alcohol added to it. It's wine, pretty much would mature in the cask via oxidation, the same as any other liquid. However, they grow this, what's called a yeasty crust called the flor, F-L-O-R. And it's this flor seals off the alcohol in the barrel. So these 2 sherries, Fino and Manzanilla, they mature what is known as naturally rather than maturing via oxidation. So they don't oxidate with the barrel tightly. So Fino and the other, actually, I'm thinking that the other Barrel Select release was either Amontillado or Manzanilla. I should have checked this out. I'll maybe add it into the description below. So these 2 sherries mature under the flor. What happens is, sometimes, so this is the thing, Palo Cortado is technically, and here's the way I always describe it, a sort of fluke sherry. Because sometimes that flor breaks. Palo Cortado in itself translates to cut stick. Translate from the Spanish, Palo Cortado, cut stick. And that flor breaks. And when the flor breaks, the sherry starts to mature by oxidation. So starts its life maturing naturally and then matures via oxidation. So the casks in themselves must be a bit rare. They've got to be a bit rare, but we're starting to see more Palo Cortado sherries popping up. So that much I can't really go into how they're in the. I just don't know how our whiskey producers getting their hands on these casks, because I would have thought they're a bit of a rarity. But I suppose once the sherry bodegas are using them, they're used. Sell them on, whatever. Right, let's get into this one, shall we? That was a quick flight through it. I had intended at one point to do a bit of a study on sherry and the influence on whiskies. I maybe will at some point. It's just difficult because there's not that. It's difficult in some cases because Fino and Manzanilla tend not to be used an awful lot for that very reason, that they don't influence the cask an awful lot. There, I'll leave the sherry behind for now. Let's get stuck into this. Glenmorangie, Palo Cortado, 12-year-old bottle of 46%. Doesn't say anywhere on it about being non-chill filtered. I'm going to suggest natural colour because Glenmorangie do, believe it or not, do tend to not add colour to their single malts. But they just don't state it on the label. So please, state it on the label. There, simple. 46%, as I said. Now I found this from day one likeable, but very, very difficult to define notes on it. Don't expect any typical sherry cask finish here. And I've noticed that with some Palo Cortado finishes, some Palo Cortado maturations even. In that, don't expect something like Oloroso or PX, which are the ones that I would say we're more used to. The sherry cask finishes or maturations that we're more used to, because Oloroso and PX casks are more available. This is a sharper, more fruity, even, I would suggest, it's certainly not down the path. It's not as sweet or sharp as a PX. It's not as round, dried fruit as Oloroso. It's a brighter, fruitier thing. Bright, sweet and creamy on the nose. Sour apples. Oh, definitely sour apples and orange. There is a slight detergenty whiff in the background, but it's maybe just me. It's just this whiskey. It's not necessarily, something to expect from a Palo Cortado cask. Orange, so there's sherbety notes, orange dab, or even lemon, the lemon sherbet orange. And we'll talk about dab. It's a little candied stick that you dip in and then. So definitely a sherbety note of it. But I'm convinced, I think, as I said, sour apples, as in the candies, the balls, those sour balls is probably the most outstanding note on this. Palate's sharp as well. Sharper even than I remember. Initially. Sweet and sour. But as it settles, it is actually quite creamy. It's sweet, but not oversweet. Those sour apples appear again on the palate. This is definitely a bizarre one for the sherry cask lovers, because, as I said, it strays away from that what we're used to, PX and Oloroso, and I'm going to keep mentioning them simply because I'm convinced that those would be the most predominantly used sherry casks there. Still very hard to define anything. There is a sharpness. Once again, sherbety. Sweet but not over sweet. Sharp but not over sharp. So as I said at the start of the palate, it does soften off, it does round off. It actually, more so than I remember, dries quite a bit. And the finish is sort of medium length, a bit nondescript, to be honest with you. It's there's a nice tingly, bright sharpness, citrusy sharpness right at the very back of it. But it's just so hard to define. That is it's not an issue I'm having with it. It's an issue I'm having with being descriptive about it, put it like that. I like it. I do like it. Because it's a bit different. Now, here's the thing. You're looking now, I picked this up. I'm convinced, I can't remember, it was around the end of last year. So now we're in summer 2024. I think it was around the end of 2023 that I picked this bottle up. And I did pick it up on sale at the time, and I vaguely remember paying around the £55 mark. At that pucker, yes, that's brilliant. That is actually a really good price. You're now looking around standard price £75 to £85 for a 12-year-old malt. That's too expensive. It may call it barrel select release. It may have the Glenmorangie name on it, which makes it sort of, the fact that it's a wee bit standout then, yeah, okay, but that's still too dear. It's too expensive for it. Drop of water brings out more sharpness on the nose, more sweetness on the nose. That's not actually looking well for this. This is the problem. I enjoyed this. I'm convinced I enjoyed this more earlier on in the bottle. Definitely that is sweeter on the nose. However, the palate has tamed a little and become more balanced, more palatable. There's less of this going on in the palate now, and less jaggedy points, as in ups and downs, sharp bits, soft bits, etc. And now it's just balanced itself out a little, leveled itself out. But still very, very difficult to define any notes or flavours in it. And once again, I'm just 75 to £85. No. It's too expensive for what this is. It's nice. It's a bit different. If you can get your hands on it, I would certainly say it's worth a try, but I'll not be chasing to replace it. Let's just put it like that. I'll stop that there for the simple fact that I know I was banging on about sherry a bit earlier on, so I don't want this to run on for too long. See you in a minute. So, if you like this was easy. This is one of the easiest for me. If you like this, then try this, I've ever had. If you like this, Glenmorangie, 12-year-old Palo Cortado, barrel select release. Try Dunville's 10-year-old Palo Cortado, bottled at 46%. Dunville's Irish whiskey. This is single malt, as I said, bottled at 46%. Now, I'm just going to come straight out and say it. The Dunville's Palo Cortado, in this case, is better. It's much better than the Glenmorangie. Not only is it better, when you get it at the right price in the right place, you're talking £55 a bottle. For a 10-year-old bottle at 46%, Palo Cortado finish, that's super. That is a super price, in my opinion. And it's a super whiskey. And it's better. It's more balanced. I went down a bit of a Palo Cortado path for a while, where I was just trying different ones. And I was blessed to have friends in the whiskey community who were giving me samples of things that they had mature in Palo Cortado. And I'll not name any names, I'll save blushes. But one certain friend from Scotland gave me a lot of samples of independent bottlings, and they were all independent bottlings from Dranmore, the independent bottling Dranmore, of Palo Cortado finished whiskies. Now, remembering that these were independently bottled, most of them then, well, all of them were all cask strength, completely unfettered, non-chill filter, no colour added, and they were wildly different. As a matter of fact, most of them I would have suggested, if I'd have drank them blind, I would have suggested them were PX, because they had a real dessert sweetness about them. I enjoyed them so much that I actually I was able to get my hands on one of them. Only one of them, the rest of them is sold out, being independent. You know how this goes. But I did around, so as I say, I think I maybe bought the Glenmorangie before Christmas 2023, end of 2023. Around Christmas 2023, I picked up the Dunville's, and I do think that the Dunville's is better. It definitely is better than the Glenmorangie. Any of you who know me know I'm a bit of a Glenmorangie fanboy. This isn't. just about to say this isn't a letdown, this Glenmorangie. Let's put the Dumbles away. That is definitely my easiest one, I think, ever, because I just know that they're quite similar. There's a lot of their notes are very on par with each other. There's florally sort of notes about them and weird. However, the Dumbles is just a better version of it. No, Glenmorangie, yes, I am a fanboy. Yes, I do like this, but it has strayed off on me, I bet, and that price, no, just that put it out of the market completely. So it's all right, but it's all right as whiskies go. But it's just all right. Yeah, it's just all right. I did forget to mention 10 years ex-bourbon. No, 8 years ex-bourbon. 4 years Palo Cortado. So there you go. That's what the maturation was. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. I'll say thank you very much for joining me. It's good to be back. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. Should anybody wish to join that group, the details are in the video description below. I'll be back next time with another 12-year-old Scottish single malt. Until then, look after yourselves. Here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.